Hi, welcome back to Cheyenne Wyoming Urban Gardener, and this is Debbie. And some exciting news today and some major undertakings. We have gotten into the garden. I had my other tomatillo, the one right here. The last one left in the main part of the garden had split. I'd shown you on video a couple days ago and had been sprawling all over the ground. It has still been alive. So I don't think that it's split enough that it has stopped the ability to get water to all of its fruit. So today I decided to come into the garden and tie it up all over. So we have gotten everything wrangled together. There are so many of these tomatillos that are actually ready. Let me see if I can show you a couple, if I can climb into the garden. I was going to do a video earlier today where I was actually inside of the garden getting all these things tied up, and I kept having people call me on the phone and just all kinds of busy things happening. But anyway, here are the tomatillos. There are literally hundreds on this plant. I didn't realize how many that it had. I knew it had probably over 100, but I didn't realize it had hundreds of tomatillos on this plant. When I finally picked up all the branches and got them all tied up, there was so many of them, and they are so ready. Some of them are already yellowed. A couple of them actually fell off immediately when I touched it, which means they are ready to go. I'm still struggling with some of them to try to just keep it wrangled together, just so it can finish out its season. But like right there, you can see one split and drying. That means the tomatillo is ready, and we have tried a couple of these. They are delicious. I have heard a description of what ground cherries taste like, a little pineapple-y, kind of vanilla-y, all of those things, and these taste so much like it, but these are tomatillos, not ground cherries. So there are so many of them that are ready in here. Like this one is completely full. You can see the tomatillo peeking out. And we had, when I got in here and actually took it and tied it off, I realized that one of my tomatoes that's right beside of it has some tomatoes on it, and they were getting shaded out. So I'm very glad I got in here, climbed in, and just basically took control of the situation and tied these guys up. So tomatillo is now wrangled. Let me get it out of the garden now. Kind of difficult now that we've got so much stuff in here. And I have gotten so many different colors of zinnias now, finally. Reds and even purple, which shows up pink on here, but it is definitely very purple. And fuchsias and peaches and all kinds of colors in here, and some striped ones, and on and on and on. And we still have plenty to bloom. And so far for the next 2 weeks on the forecast, I'm not seeing anything going down to frost temperatures, which is great. Yay! So up until the 7th, as far as we can see out, it shows that we are still going to be in the 80s with lows in the 50s, which is fantastic. We still have watermelons to finish out. And we ate our first watermelon last night, picked it off the vines. It was so ready, so sweet, so delicious. It was one of the sugar babies, and we so enjoyed that. And I actually gave a piece to a neighbor today, along with some other vegetables out of the garden, some carrots and all kinds of things. We've got carrots that are now finally getting ready, but we have tomatoes hanging in gobs in here in this garden, just everywhere. But anyway, major undertaking was tying up that tomatillo plant, as well as tying up the tomatoes at the end, the giant ox hearts and the old Germans that have gotten enormous. And I actually had to put second stakes in there just to contain all of these vines. But you can see that I did get in here and tie these up, and look at those tomatoes. We have gobs of tomatoes on these guys. Most of them near the top, because I think that's where it was getting most of the light. But we have tomatoes, and this one that was struggling, I got in here and finally cleaned up a lot of the bottom leaves that were browning on it. Got those trimmed off, so that way when we're watering now, we can water more at the base without actually hitting the leaves, because that does cause some browning on the leaves if you're doing it at the wrong times or anything like that. I'm not doing it at the wrong time, but it can cause some browning anyway. This one here is one of the San Marzanos, and I think that one is a lost cause at this point. I haven't pulled it out yet. It had a couple of tomatoes on it, and it looked like it was going to do something. But unfortunately, it looks like it has died off, and I need to get in here and get it pulled out. But I did clean up the one behind it a little bit that had started to get some new growth on it. And it looks like it might pull out of the blight. So who knows? Maybe it'll bloom and put some fruit on real quick. But this one here, even though it's got some browning on the leaves, this guy is absolutely loaded. There's probably 40 to 50 tomatoes on that guy. You can just see them everywhere. And same with the next tomato plant over. And you can see that they are starting to climb up, and I actually forgot to tie that one up, so I need to get in there and tie that one up a little bit better. And then we have an old German over there that was being smothered out by the collapsing of the tomatillo. I got that cleaned up, got it tied up, and you can see tomatoes hanging on it, kind of getting mixed in with all the tomatillos, but you can see tomatoes right there hanging, and that tomato plant looking very healthy, nice big tomatoes on it. And we have finally so many tomatoes in here. I've got one super sauce tomato that ended up getting blight, I believe, from the infection of the San Marzanos. So most of the rest of them just have some browning on the leaves from watering, but otherwise nice big tomatoes on them. And you can see we've got gobs and gobs and gobs of tomatoes hanging in here everywhere. Again, we ended up with about 30 tomato plants left. Out of 36, which is pretty good. You can lose some for just about any situation. We've got another San Marzano here that never got hit with the blight, and it has plenty of tomatoes on it, and we've pulled a bunch of them off already, and I did tie it up a little further today, so it's finally getting a little bit taller than it was. It stayed short, but it has been producing. You can see those nice tomatoes on there the whole time. And lots of tomatoes on here. And at this point, we've got little pops of color everywhere. We've got sunflowers that are just, blooming like crazy. Short ones, tall ones, the whole 9 yards. And these tomatillos over here are putting their magnificent displays on. And I think we've got a couple of tomatillos in here that are almost ready. But loads and loads of food in this garden right now. You can see all of our potatoes are still going strong. Some are still blooming. We had a second blooming of the potatoes out here. I did give the neighbor that we have some produce out of the garden today, just as a thank you, because she's going to be kind of keeping an eye on our place this weekend, because we are going to take a very short little vacation. Anyway, we've got loads and loads of food in here. Got a little bit of yellowing going on with the rattlesnake pole beans. A couple of the plants I think are dying back because they're kind of at the end of everything. They did not do as well as I expected, but we did get plenty of beans off of them, and hopefully we'll have enough left to dry and save for seed. But I'm not going to be planting the rattlesnake pole beans for us again because we just didn't like them as much. But we will be saving some of the beans from the half runners and saving those. You can see those hanging there, and then of course we still have some of the rattlesnake pole beans left. But the half runner beans have definitely been the winner this season, as well as the Kentucky Wonder and the contender bush beans and the top crop bush beans. I am very tired today because we have been in here from early this morning, and I just finished tying all of these tomatoes up, doing some weeding, and cleaning up our entire area through here. We have swept and sprayed and everything, our walkways off, cleaned all of those up. You can see we've gotten in here and done quite a lot, and cleaned up a lot of the sand that had came off of our sand pile over here, and cleaned out a lot of the corner sections, picked up a lot of trash that just kept blowing into our area. You can see we've been working on that all day, and tying up again a lot of our tomatoes and clipping a lot of yellowed leaves in our cucumbers. I see one that I missed in there. So we've been doing a lot of work throughout the garden today. Pulled so many weeds, it's just insane. And just went through here and did a lot of pruning of so many different things. Some of the watermelons had some dead leaves on them that we cleaned out. And just taking care of overall maintenance. You can see where I was still sweeping some of the section through here. We've gotten all of this cleaned up. Pulled a lot of weeds out of here that we could. It's just so much that we had to do. So we've gotten all that done. Out here in the herb garden, everything looks fantastic. I'm going to go ahead and let these lettuce go to seed and save those seed. This is the Four Seasons lettuce. And it is such beautiful lettuce and very, very tasty. We still have some that we can eat on. They have not went to seed yet. Those are down in there. And just so many things are looking wonderful. We've had, finally, our morning glory has started blooming. And we've had multiple different colors now. We started out with purple. Now we've gotten pink with purple stripes and white ones. They're not bloomed out right now because it is in the evening. And so many more new runners on these. And they are just going nuts. And they've got plenty of time, from what we see, for them to just continue growing like crazy. And I keep trying to keep the runners up so that way they don't reseed or anything. So we don't have crap tons of morning glories popping up everywhere. But we've been re-trellising a lot of the cucumbers that were kind of spreading out everywhere. Working on those. And just general maintenance and checking up on everything through here, all throughout the garden, as well as just in general around our house. And tying up some trellises, the bamboo trellises that kept leaning over. We tied those up, got those back staked nice and neat. And the big surprise is I did receive the phone call today from the local master gardeners to have a tour of the garden with about 20 visitors that will come through the garden just to see everything that's growing, and I'll answer questions if they have any questions and make suggestions and give advice on what they can grow here in Cheyenne, Wyoming, as well as just having a good visit with a bunch of people that are master gardeners and sharing information. And I'm going to be taking the master gardeners course. I'm just not sure if I'm going to take it online or in person. I'm working on that right now, and it's just lots and lots of things going on here behind the scenes, but I am updating everybody to let them know what is going on. You can see our hibiscus are just the stealer of the show right now. Look how beautiful that is. We have pulled so many blooms that have dried for hibiscus tea and sugar and stuff like that. And our burpee pickler cucumbers are producing like crazy now. Let me see if I can show you some of the little cucumbers on there. You can see one right down there. And another one over here. Loads and loads and loads of cucumbers everywhere that will be coming on, and lots more pickling to do. But yes, very, very tired today. Lots of stuff that we have been doing. I've got lettuce to pick, and I need to get in here and see which ones are going to seed. Get those pulled out, because these are ones that I do not keep seed on. They just get so large, and the space is just not enough space for them to go to seed. And anyway, loads and loads of little cherry tomatoes. Look at that. I basically ended up with one sun gold cherry tomato out of all the ones that I planted, because I basically gave everybody tomato plants, and so I ended up with one, but it has been plenty. I mean, look at the tomatoes like crazy on this guy, and it's not a very tall plant. And this is the one that broke, and we had to tie it back up. If you go back to the beginning of the season, look some of the spring videos, you'll see when that one broke, and I was devastated thinking it was going to die, and it didn't. It bounced right back, and it has been producing like crazy. So is the yellow pear tomato, so we've had plenty of those. We've got another San Marzano over here, and this one is quite healthy in comparison to the other one in a container, and it has been producing tomatoes like crazy. Just all kinds of good things going on. We're just going to walk around the garden and I'll show you everything that's happening. We have harvested our corn. We got 4-gallon bags, so not a whole lot, but enough for us. But 4-gallon bags so far. We still have about half to harvest. When they get ready, they're not quite ready yet. Some of them are still just now tasseling and still just now starting with corn. You can see that. That one's just now tasseling. And these are the ones in the back, but they are finally producing. And one of them got pulled down by the Tahitian squash. But we do have Tahitian squash in there. Let me see if I can lean way over and you can see it. Right in there is the Tahitian squash, and they get big so fast. Again, those go up to 30 pounds. They're like a butternut. And 30 pounds or over per squash. Tahitian squash, so look into those. Or you can also send me a message and I'll see if I can get you some seeds sent out if you would like to try Tahitian squash or any of the different varieties of vegetables that I have. I do save seed every year on most everything. So if you want to try something that I've mentioned and you'd like to get some seeds and you don't know where to get them or you just can't find them, send me a message. My email is listed down below in the description. And I would be glad to go ahead and give you some seeds, send those to you. And I still have a lot of seeds from last season, so plenty of seeds to go around. But loads and loads and loads of stuff in here. And here's the dark opal basil that we planted in the ground a short time ago. It has really popped up. And we had planted some more that we had started into a container with a lot of other basil, and you can see that here. So it's really starting to take off. But again, loads and loads of food, all different kinds. I grow so many different kinds of things. I don't stick to just one thing. And we will be harvesting our own basil seed off of so many different basils that we have. You can see how filled out our lemon basil is in my grandson's little container. Look at that. And then we have celosia that looks like a brain that is coming up, and it starts filling out and it ends up looking like a brain eventually. He's got his broccoli there, which looks like it's about to go to head, and another pear tomato, and his pear tomato is really starting to produce like crazy too. You can see loads of little tomatoes hanging in there, just all over the place. And again, those zinnias just are so pretty, especially this peach one. Peach one just popped up today. And it's just all the tomatoes. And these guys are shaded, and look at that. Look at those tomatoes. And so many beans. The beans are blooming again. The contender bush beans are blooming again and producing again. We just picked a gallon off a couple days ago, and I'm letting them have a little break, and they start blooming again and start producing again. And a lot of our onions are finishing out. You can see they're laying over. They're not super huge, but they're big enough. Medium-sized onions mostly. I did give our neighbor one of those today, and it was quite nice. And again, a look at those tomatoes that we just finished tying up. I'm getting those guys. You can actually see individual plants again. And then we do have some cucumbers at the base of these tomato plants. You can see a yellow bloom right there. They are blooming, and they will probably produce a couple of cucumbers, but they're not going to be huge because they are so shaded. You can see all of our lovely calendula through here, and all of our lovely zinnias through here, the smaller variety. And then we have red curries like crazy in here. You can just see the one right now, but there are so many others back there. And then I've just been discovering them myself because the vines, you can see the vines are massive. And they actually climb the pea trellis, go across the pea trellis. They were mixed into the tomatoes today. I had to pull them out of the tomatoes and throw the squash vine back over the fence. So it had started trying to take over the tomatoes. Nope, can't happen. So we've got another big red curry squash in here. And another back behind that one. You can't really see it. And then I saw one earlier today towards the back, and then there's some all along the back section. Look at those peppers. Loads of peppers in there. Look at that. All those. We ended up with 24 pepper plants, 6 of which were my own seed. Those guys are blooming now and starting to produce. They have been a little behind the whole season because they've been kind of shaded out with the red curry. But you can see the peppers hanging everywhere in here. And we have at least a good 2 more weeks for them to really get nice and big. And they have started getting big very fast. We've got one hanging down in here. You can see that one, and just everywhere in here. And another red curry right there, which hasn't turned red yet. And all of our zucchini through there looking amazing still. Celery still looking amazing. I gave a head of that to a neighbor, pulled it up, and it was about 3 feet tall. Nice, beautiful celery. She was so happy. And cauliflower, not heading up yet, but it's thinking about it. And I did notice that we have a broccoli head today. So let me see if you can see that. There we go. Not very big, but there is a broccoli head there. I was not expecting them to get very big because we've had such hot temperatures, well over into the upper 90s for many weeks. And I did give her a cabbage today, so she got the most ready cabbage that I had right between there. Took that one out and gave it to her. But we still have cabbages coming on. And plenty of cabbages that are ripe and ready to go way back there. And I gave her a daikon radish, which was nice and big. And you can see we've got plenty of new radishes coming on, and our beans are getting ready to bloom here that we planted toward the last. We've got carrots that are just really coming up, and some parsnips in here that were newly planted. And I gave her some carrots that were ready to go out of our other carrots in the back. And our lettuce is still doing beautifully. I gave her some of that as well. I just trimmed off some of our cilantro to dry, but still a nice big patch there. Our sweet potato vines was a success. Remember, I kept saying I don't know if that sweet potato is going to do anything. Well, it did. Here we go. We've got some slips. I still haven't put them in the ground yet. I just wanted to see if we could get some slips and how they would do. But there you go. We do have potato slips, sweet potato slips. And everything else still looking beautiful in here. All the beets. And that dinosaur kale is really putting on some size now. Turnips getting nice and big. We've got so many pumpkins in here. And this patch. And they're really starting to spill over into the walkway now. All of our flowers are still beautiful. And as I was mentioning, we cleaned all the walkways today. You can see all the walkways are nice and cleaned off. And I gave her some Swiss chard today. And our kale is looking beautiful. And our rhubarb, she wants to get some rhubarb. She says she just likes to eat the rhubarb. So, okay, we're going to give her some of that. And our acorn squash out here is getting nice and big. Got blooms on it. One of them has a runner. Kind of surprising for an acorn squash. But it has a runner. And hopefully they'll put something on pretty soon. Otherwise, we may be without acorn squash this year. As you can see, I got in here and cleaned up a lot of the weeds. I still have some more to do. But we have mostly dandelions and thistles here that we deal with quite a lot. So I got in here, cleaned a lot of that out. Still have a lot to do because I just don't want to hit the other plants. Guido Cossaman squash and a cucumber through here. And we've got our Big Max pumpkins, and it is producing a pumpkin, and it looks like that it did get pollinated today. And more acorn squash and our strawberries, which are still putting on strawberries, let me add, like crazy down in there. And we have some more acorn squash and things like that over here. But lots of weeds got cleaned out today. And I'm starting to contact people because we have irises that need to be separated. I just don't have enough room for them, and I'm not going to plant more. So we've got people going to come and pick up some irises as long as they dig them up themselves. But again, walkway nice and clean. We got in here and cleaned a lot of the weeds out at the base of the bird feeders. And just all kinds of flowers. But again, I am so tired from all of the work that was done today. Look at those beautiful sunflowers. So I'm hoping that I get some really good rest tonight. I'm sure I'm going to be sore in the morning, because when we get past spring and all the work we put into spring and early summer, we sort of get a break until harvest starts coming in, and we have to clean up weeds and things like that. So that's what happened today. And oh, Delicata Squash, I forgot to mention those in the last couple of videos. You can see we have got some Delicata Squash coming on, and these plants are gorgeous. Look at that. And it's actually a lot bigger than what it looks like on the screen. But nice Delicata Squash. They're all producing. I only have 4 plants there. I thinned them down to 4. And very nice plants. And next season I think I will completely go all the way up the row with those. And it looks like our sunflowers here are about ready to bloom as well. And the chore now is trying to keep the squirrels out of everything. And another rhubarb plant that finally started producing rhubarb like crazy. And then we hardly ever talk about our roses and things through here, but our knockout roses we got as clearance have really started bushing out now, looking beautiful. Just about all the damage has been reversed, and they have been blooming like crazy. We've got rose hips like crazy. And let me show you something that is absolutely gorgeous, and that is this guy. This is a second set of blooms. Again, they told you right around the first part of September, which is a little bit early, we would have a second round of blooms on these roses, and there you have it. Look at that gorgeous, gorgeous rose bloom, and I love that color. It's that peachy tangerine color. And you can see it's got a few blooms on it, and I think it's more of a long stem variety. And then these are Cosmos. They haven't bloomed yet, but we've got Cosmos blooming in amongst the zinnias over here, because they get a little bit more sun over here. So you can see those Cosmos. And then we've got some out in the herb garden, which are just about ready to bloom. So we've cleaned all of this area up. And got a lot of weeds out of here. We got a calendula that volunteered up over here. And all of our nasturtiums, which looks like finally we're going to get some blooms. And our bachelor buttons and things like that. And then we have our artichokes over here, which are likely not going to make it this season. But they're beautiful anyway. But anyway, that is the tour of the garden and a little bit about what's going on. And we look forward to the tour. I hope that we get a chance to be able to put a video out of the tour going on. Of course, I'll have to ask everyone if they mind being on camera or not. But hopefully we can get a video of that tour. It'll be on September 1st. So anyway, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell for notices on new videos as they come out. And Debbie is going to go in and crash. I wish everyone well, and we'll see you in the next one.